We take you now to this story. President Cyril Ramaphosa has missed the Constitutional Court 21st September deadline to sign the Copyright Amendment Bill. A number of civil society organizations, including Blind South Africa, Section 27, and SADTU, have raised their concerns about the president's delay. The amendment to the act was meant to, among other things, guard against unfairly discriminating against persons with visual disabilities. The civil society organizations have come together under an initiative called Recreate, and they are highlighting how various sectors of society are affected by this bill. We now speak to the convener of Recreate, that is Kyla McNulty. Thank you so much, Kyla, for making time for us this morning. So the president has missed this particular deadline. What happens now?
What happens now is hopefully that he gets back to it as soon as possible. The bill has been through Parliament twice. So it's spent a lengthy amount of time going through its democratic processes. It's at the president's desk now for the second time. And we also have this Constitutional Court hearing ruling, thanks to Blind SA, saying that there's, for constitutional reasons, government needs to urgently reform our copyright legislation. So we do have, belief that the president, or hope that the president will treat it with urgency. However, we were hoping that the presidency would make the 21 September deadline. So, we hope that it's going to come soon, because what we can't have is it being delayed for much longer, because it's been delayed for years and years. And, the outcome is it's real change. It's important that it's done soon.
Yep. So should we understand this to mean that the court order was not necessarily just for Parliament to rectify some of the issues that were highlighted in the court challenge, but also for the president to actually sign the bill? Was there a deadline in the order that said that the president must sign the bill by this particular date?
No, not particularly. So the particular aspect of, was regarding discrimination against visually impaired people was the ruling, and that needs to be reformed. However, the bill needs to also be reformed in order for, because there's a lot of things in the bill that enable the reform process. So it's not as simple as just changing, one clause. There's a whole kind of overview that needs to happen that is connected to, things in the bill. And I mean, we could keep playing this game. We could argue that poor learners and schools not having access to education because of copyright laws is also unconstitutional. So do we have to go to the Constitutional Court again to make that argument to get those reforms? At the end of the day, the copyright law is from 1978. It's extremely outdated, and there's many issues in it that addresses many different sectors of society, whether it's creatives, whether it's people needing access to education, and that is why Recreate exists. It's a collection of users and creators of copyright who support the bills and think that they urgently need to be passed. Yeah.
So outside from urging the president to sign the bill, because I see the Mail and Guardian tried to speak to the spokesperson of the president, who said that we will announce once the bill has been signed, as we always do. So there's no clear data around when the president will sign the bill. But as Recreate, what's your steps to ensure and try and push the president to sign the bill?
We do our best to kind of, let government know that there's these factions of civil society that strongly support the bills and also support government in terms of passing this legislation. There's a lot, obviously passing the legislation is literally like the first step. There's so much education that needs to be done, and of course, implementation. So we see this as a journey. So we end up working in parallel sometimes, trying to educate society and people about why we need copyright reform, one, and what it can do for us, how it can empower us. So we kind of work a little bit as an educational kind of platform as well, making this type of complex, often seen as academic conversation more accessible. But also we try to, we've been very active in the legislative process,
Yeah.
and giving input from civil society in terms of what the reform should be. Yeah.
Yeah. So in the absence of the bill being signed into law, what would you say are some of the pressing challenges that are faced in the creative sector, but also how it has an impact on broader society? We speak about schools as an example.
Yeah, there's a lot that needs to happen. From an educational point of view, our laws are extremely outdated, and it just doesn't work in a country like South Africa. You can't be so focused on commercial interests that you don't factor in things like price gouging, or, it's illegal for a teacher to, photocopy a paragraph. The laws are just, not meant for a place like South Africa. And there's a lot of misunderstanding around, what the laws could enable. So there's a lot of kind of fear mongering around, oh, you're going to copy a full textbook and hand it out to the class. That is not what the bills allow. But what it does do is it allows for certain usage for things like education under certain circumstances. And then for creatives, what it does largely is regulate a very unregulated industry. So a lot of people don't know, but our collecting societies that collect royalties for musicians are not legally regulated. And that's why they're able to get away with so much. Similarly, our actors aren't even legally mandated to receive royalties. And that's where we end up with issues of, legend actors who've worked for decades not being able to afford medical care. So it's a very serious issue. And then we also have exploitative kind of practices where, you lock an artist into a contract, and, it doesn't matter how well they're doing, they can't renegotiate, or, they don't really have much bargaining power.
Okay.
So the bills do seek to give them more rights at the negotiating table.
Thank you so much for your time, convener at Recreate, Kyla McNulty. Really appreciate your